All right. Hi guys, welcome back to the Takeover Lounge. It's Daniela. And we have Jai here joining us today. Did I say the name right?
Yeah, it's Jai.
All right. How do you say your full name?
Jai'koa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't you just go by Jai?
Yeah, it makes it easier for people to just pronounce.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I actually found you on TikTok, surprisingly.
Oh, yeah.
And then I did some research and I saw that article by I think it was Vogue Atlanta or Vogue
Oh,
Atlanta.
Voyage ATL.
Hmm. Yeah, and so we're just like, well, we're trying to branch out cross country, and this fits perfectly. So kind of tell us how you started in the creative um, world. Like you're a dancer, you're a creative director. So how did you start?
Um, so it was probably like 2013, 2014. I left Alaska and went down to Los Angeles and basically had it in my head that I was going to be like an overnight star. And LA humbled me real quick. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Um, I was out there about 11 months. Ended up being homeless on the streets. Didn't know anyone out there. Ended up becoming like a street performer, like the dancers that you see trying to get money. Um, until one day, this gentleman approached me. I was walking on Hollywood Boulevard, and basically came up to me and said he liked my look. We want to introduce you to someone, and then that someone happened to be Drake, and they took me to the Jimmy Kimmel show. I ended up doing what was called the fake Drake interviews for the Jimmy Kimmel show, and then after the show, Drake really liked who I was as a person and introduced me to some casting directors, and that's kind of how I got my start into the industry.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
So how was that move from Alaska to Los Angeles? Like, what made you want to do that? Just to go further in your creative career, or was it just kind of on a whim?
Um, so like the year before I had made the big jump, I went to the World of Dance LA finals. And growing up as a dancer, I didn't have any like formal training, but like going to my first big dance competition, it was just like, wow, these are like people that I've watched on YouTube or social
Mhm.
media, and like now they're my competition. So I think that's what really inspired me to go out there. And then plus, you don't hear too many people from Alaska making a name for themselves. So I wanted to kind of pave the way as best as I could.
That's awesome. How long have you been dancing for?
Since I was about 7 years old, so a little over 20 years.
Nice, nice.
Mhm.
That's awesome. You mentioned World of Dance. So what
Mhm.
was your experience with that?
Ooh, nervousness, the anxiety was super high up. My first competition battle, my first round was with a gentleman called Tight Eyes, and anyone who knows who he is, he's one of the founders of a dance style called Crump. So when
Mhm.
I saw my name and then I saw his name, I was like, "Oh, this is real." I was like, "You guys could have started me off with someone like on my level," but yeah, no, it just became one of those things where it motivated me more to get better at my craft. I finally started taking my first official dance lessons at like the age of 19, and just really honed in my skills. And then like the YouTube dancers or the well-known choreographers now, I can call my good friends now to this day.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
I know it's like every dancer's dream to experience World of Dance at least once,
Oh yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
And I've noticed like you have Twitch as like a really big mentor for you, correct?
Mhm. Yeah.
How did that happen?
So Twitch was random. It was around the same time that I was out in Los Angeles. Um, Actually, I met him a few months before I met Drake. There was what was called the Revolt TV show owned by P Diddy,
Mhm.
and Twitch was actually one of the guests being interviewed on there. And DJ Damage, who is the host for them or was the host for them, he had knew that I was from Alaska and I was one of the few people in like the crowd. And he had pulled me to the side and was like, "Hey, I know you're a dancer. I'm gonna introduce you to Twitch." And Twitch just instant gave me like like little older brother advice, and
Mhm.
I would not trade it for the world.
That's
Absolutely
awesome.
not. Yeah.
Nice. And so being in LA and meeting with Drake and having that exposure, you then moved to Atlanta, correct?
Yes.
So what was the differences between the LA industry and the Atlanta industry that you've noticed?
So Atlanta, people are more welcoming in comparison to LA. Like Los Angeles, like I still got a lot of love for them, but Atlanta was more like everyone's working together. Like it's like clockwork, the Southern hospitality, so to speak. Um, versus LA is like you got to kind of know people to get into certain rooms or certain private events and whatnot. So it's not as easy. Atlanta, I never had that issue, and it was also the first time experiencing black excellence, so to speak. Like
Mm,
if you were someone who Hispanic or African American, like you were empowered to be who you are and take more pride in that. And I saw people that were my age or younger that were just super successful. So that in itself motivated me even more. I was like, oh, there's people like me, but younger, way ahead. I was like, I got to catch up. So yeah, Atlanta and LA are two different animals for sure.
awesome. What made you move back to Alaska then?
I wanted to get back to the community.
Okay.
One of the first big projects that I did when I came back was collaborating with Reebok, and we outfitted the boys and girls basketball team for Bartlett High School.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, one of my little church brothers that I grew up with up here, he's actually the assistant coach for the women's basketball team for them. So I reached out, I was like, hey man, you guys don't have to pay for anything. I collaborated with Reebok. Like, so we gifted them Allen Iverson's signature mid Reebok shoes. And then since I've been back, I've done a couple motivation speeches, just doing the best to inspire the youth that are underneath that like, hey, like I was just like you guys. I didn't really have a plan, but as long as you legitimately set your mind to it and you stay true to who you are, things always work out.
Mhm. It's true. And so do you ever, like, go back to Atlanta or go back to LA for different events? Like, do you still hold those connections pretty tight, or are you mainly focused on Alaska right now?
No, absolutely. So actually, I fly out to Atlanta end of February to collaborate with James Worthy, who's a Grammy producer and artist. So I'll
Mm.
be directing his music video for him. He and I want to say we date back to like 2014, 2015. He was one of the first friends that I made out in Atlanta. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
And so with everything, how did you want to become a TikTok person or creator?
Honestly, TikTok for me was random. Like it's a different world compared to like Instagram. And
Mhm.
so with TikTok, it was like I gotta like study like what's trendy, what's the new
Yeah.
dance. It switches every day. And I kind of got lucky with a couple videos, and then they went viral, and then it blew up my following. And so now I'm just kind of maintaining that leverage because anyone who's in the industry or becoming some sort of an influencer knows that obviously the more engagement, the more following, the more you can leverage yourself against these larger companies that want to pay you for promotion. So
Very cool. I know it's more like a craze for the younger generation, but I do see like a lot of like the 90s kids and
millennials, yeah, yeah.
they're starting to become more popular on TikTok. So it's nice to see
Oh
um
yeah.
those videos. Um kind of going back to your choreography days, what was your first like major choreographer project?
Uh, so there was a girl named Beja Rodriguez from the OMG girls for like Ti and Tiny. I got to help co-choreograph for her as my first artist down in Atlanta, and then from that, it took a turn into me assisting with other creative directors for music videos, coming up with treatments like the Young Thug music video, Big Racks with Lil Uzi, that was filmed in Atlanta, and then learning from like the lead creative directors had helped me become a better one of my own so that I can start taking charge and just doing it on my own. And James is actually going to be one of the first big ones that I've done this year all by myself versus just co-creating. So I'm super excited with that.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
What are some difficulties that you have noticed with like for yourself that you've been through?
Mhm.
That's really made like life changes for you.
Um, oof, there's a few of those. uh, I would say being cautious and self-aware. Being in this type of industry, it's very easy to get caught up and lose yourself, your grounding, and the original reason why you even started in the first place.
Mhm.
um, I'm a firm believer in once you've lost your passion for it and it just becomes about the money, then you don't need to be doing it anymore, and that's with any field of industry. So um, that, and then just making sure you're observing everyone around you because not everyone's your friend. I learned that very quickly in the industry,
Yes.
and I just get that from my mother. Like she's so selfless and giving. So like for me, when you get this kid coming straight out of Alaska and like he's starting to make money that he's never seen before, you
Mhm.
want to give, 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 and give, whether it's industry friends or your actual friends. So like then you start to see the difference between the two, an industry friend versus like a genuine friend.
Yes.
So I remember after I got dropped from my first agency, like certain friends just kind of disappeared because the money wasn't around or the traveling and perks weren't around. And then once I re-signed to a new agency, you kind of see them kind of start coming back. So
Mhm.
yeah, definitely one of the largest lessons.
That's cool. Um, with having like your experience with that, what's some advice for someone who's just wanting to go into the industry, rather whether it be like a dancer or a rapper or a musician? Besides what you've already stated, what are some other things they should be cautious for?
Um, Taking things with a grain of salt. I mean, not everyone's who they claim to be, and having respect across the board. Like me personally, I'll never give more respect to a CEO than I would give a homeless individual, and I think that's a lot has to do with my own personal experiences from being on the red carpet to actually being homeless prior before all this even happened. So I know what it's like to be on both sides. So mental fortitude is a big thing as well. Like
Mhm.
if you don't take care of your mental health, that can be very detrimental in the industry. A lot of people think like, okay, I got to get this done. But if you don't take the time for that self love and that self respect, like you're gonna break, and then you're not good to anybody. So that would be something that I would highly advise for anyone getting started.
Yeah. We so on the Takeover Lounge, we ask every interviewer
Mhm.
um or any guest, what are ways that you help your mental health and like keep stress free, not so much in your head?
Mhm.
Like how do you do what's your ways of self-care for yourself?
I try to take at least one day out of the week just for myself, whether it's going on a walk with my dog, journaling. I go to the gym quite a bit, or just watch anime. I'm a huge nerd at heart. That's something that'll never change. Doing what you love genuinely, like it could be crocheting, it could be you drawing a work of art, um, something that is core to you as an individual. So if that makes you happy at the end of the day, then definitely do that to help your mental health.
Nice. Yeah. So for me, I'm very interested in like your dance background because I was a dancer as well. Um,
Okay.
so when I saw like Brian Puspos and Twitch,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I did
Right.
competitions with Twitch, and
Yeah.
Brian would always come to like our dance studio that we were at. So
Nice.
those names, I was just like, okay, those people don't really know those names unless they're in the dancer industry.
Yeah, Brian is actually my top choreographer of all time. If anyone who has ever seen like any of my like beginner videos from when I first started dancing, like you can see the elements of like
Right.
Brian inspirations. Dude was just super talented, and anytime I've ever hung out with him or spoke to him, he's just been super humble, and very educational. Like he'll say, "Hey, I notice you do this quite a bit. Switch it up and try to use more of the levels and or more intricate movements and things that like it takes an outside perspective to be able to give you on." So he's been helpful as well.
Yeah, he's an amazing choreographer. Him and I forget his name right now, but they used to do a lot of videos together. And I remember like just watching them dance for hours, being on
Oh
YouTube just
yeah,
for hours.
same. Grew up watching America's Best Dance Crew,
Mm-hmm.
Crew, Jabberwockies, all of them. So it's definitely been a dream come true for me. Like I've always been an athlete and then a dancer, and so it's like the equivalent of like some kid who's a basketball player meeting LeBron James or Michael Jordan. So for me to meet these individuals and then like some of them actually become my genuine friends, it's like
Mm-hmm.
what more could I really ask for? Like, yeah, it's cool to like meet certain celebrities, and I always tell people like I'm grateful, but for me, I get hyped off of like other TikTokers or Instagrammers or YouTubers because they come from the same realm. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
regular folks. Like not to say that celebrities aren't either, but they're more like relatable to me. Like oh, like I know who you are. Like I know who you are. You know what? And get excited and just geek out.
What was it like having someone recognize you for the first time? Like for
Weird.
your work? Was it?
It's super weird. I grew up an introvert. My youngest sister, she's a social butterfly, and then my older sister, she's a balanced. So for me, like I grew up that nerd. Like the only time I really would like socially interact was like for sports or school.
Mhm.
Um, so the more I like started taking off on social media, and then like people started knowing me for who I am, like my work. Like I think the first time I ever got noticed was like in a Ralph's grocery store, and someone was like, "Yo, are you that Drake kid?" And I was like, "Yeah." For the longest, I was known as just the Drake kid until I started like doing things to kind of top that, and then like people started knowing me, and then like I had people ask me for pictures, and like I just freeze up. I've gotten better. I've gotten better at it over time, but it was just like at first it was just like, "Yo, I'm a normal dude, just like y'all." Like I just happen to get a little bit better on social media, but and I'm still the same way now. Like if someone approaches me or wants to talk or ask for advice, like I'm super open to it. Like I'll never just dismiss it. So
Yeah, I remember messaging you on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, he's not gonna answer." Because I mean, for me, I schedule most of our interviews, and there's many people that won't answer or like they'll
mhm.
ask for an incentive, and I'm just like, it's a podcast. Like people, we want people to know about other people, right? And
Yeah.
so when you're like, yeah, sure, I'll be on it, but I was surprised. I was like, okay, so now we're gonna have this artist from Alaska. And Z was like, "Are we flying to Alaska?" I'm like, "No, we're not going to Alaska." Oh gosh.
I try my best to like answer all DMs or like at least scroll through them. Like I'll take like 30 minutes out of my day to like try to like scroll through and answer as many as possible.
Mhm.
I get that from Donnie Savage, who's like this bigger influencer. He's a male model slash actor out in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And to me, he's like a big brother to me. Like I'll call him, ask him questions like, "Hey, like I got this brand asking me like this. How much do you think I should?" Or I got this audition coming up. Like I'm gonna try to act like this for the role. Like, do you think it's cool? So he's definitely someone that I encourage. Even if you guys want to reach out to him to do an interview, he's definitely a solid guy, so so to speak. So yeah,
It sounds like you established like a really good circle of mentors that you can go to and ask any questions to, like about.
absolutely.
So that's really nice because I know a lot of artists they don't have those mentors, or they have a mentor but they're kind of one of those mentors where you have to do it this way or else you're not going to get it, like get to your goal. But
Yeah.
there's other ways that and other ways of exposure um, that can help an artist reach like their end goal for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the mentors that I have, one of them told me when I was like 19, there's nothing wrong with being a copycat as long as you're copying the right cat. And then like he kind of displayed like Coca Cola and Pepsi or Sierra Mist and Mountain Dew, and how like the different owners just put their own twist on it. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of what I did with all my mentors. I learned from all their mistakes. I'm asking them questions, and I'm just building my own recipe as I go along. That way, I can pass it to the next generation.
That's cool.
Oh yeah.
So being in Alaska, what like what's there to do in
There's a
Alaska?
lot. I get that a lot. There's a lot. We have our own nightlife up here. We just had Loud and Luxury up here on Saturday. They're a pretty famous DJ duo.
Mhm.
A couple weekends ago, we had Vic Mensa and Division. Um, it's a very scenic place. So like, if you're looking for great hikes, outdoor activities, it's definitely the place to be. A lot of people up here are like, I live in Anchorage, so Anchorage is like a big city for the most part for us in our state, but it's got a small town feel to it. Like everyone knows each other for the most part. Um, and the best way I describe it is like a West Coast New York, just without without all the rudeness. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're a melting pot up here. Um, my second family, they're all Samoan, they're Polynesians, and so they helped raise me, obviously, along with my parents, and so I took pride in that, and that's where my tattoos come from. So it's a mix between African tribal, Puerto Rican tribal, and Samoan tribal. Um, that's another thing about me. I take really big pride in who I am and where I come from, and I try to teach that to other people as well. Like, don't ever be shy to be who you are. Like, if you're a nerd, if you're a jock, or like whoever this is, find out who you are as an individual
Mhm.
and be proud of that. Like, no matter what, don't let anybody steer you away from that.
Definitely. And I do feel a lot of people, especially now with, everything going on in the world, they
Mhm.
tend to lose themselves a little bit. And I feel like over the past 2 years, a lot of people are realizing, okay, without doing a certain activity that I thought I was very accustomed to, or that was my life, who am I really like deep down? I think a lot of like deep reflection has been happening over the
Yeah,
past few years.
absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Um, I know once COVID hit, I told a few of my close friends like, "Hey, this should be proof right here that working a 9 to 5 or um, settling for less than you deserve in life is not it. Like, go out there, take a chance, start your own business, be an entrepreneur, leave a legacy, make your mark on the world, no
Mm,
matter what it is."
definitely. What are some of your end goals that you want to achieve?
I know I want to start a scholarship program um, for dance and sports, specifically basketball and track and field in terms of sports area. Hopefully, start my own nonprofit and name it after my grandfather who passed away over 10 years ago. and then just have my own businesses up and running. Like as long as I have my own small local businesses, and then I have the nonprofit and the scholarships, I'm giving back, and then I have my own residual passive income coming in. I'm
Yeah.
cool. Like I don't need a fancy house, a yacht, like none of that's for me. Like I'm cool. I just want those three things up and running, and that's it.
Very nice.
Mhm.
So a couple of questions that we ask every guest on our show. So one of them being is if you could pick any superhero power, what would it be and why?
Oof. I would say time travel.
Okay.
hmm I would do time travel, and only because I could travel to like pivotal moments in history
Hmm.
and ask those iconic historical figures questions that no one else could ask, obviously, and
Wow.
just learn and then apply them to today's society.
I think that's the first time someone people have said time travel, but they haven't given that explanation. So
Yeah,
that's
I, I
cool.
I told you I'm an educated individual. I literally will pick like a random topic, and this is because like my parents had us doing it growing up. But
Mm.
I'll pick like a random topic for the month, and then like research the heck out of it, and like at the end of that month, figure out what I've learned, how it can apply to me, how it can apply to society, how what I've learned made me felt, so things like that. So yeah, that's why I would pick time travel.
And another question we have is if you could pick between mint chocolate chip or any other ice cream, what what would it be?
uh, I don't think I would ever eat mint chocolate chip ice cream. Nope.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. But I'll probably pick strawberry cheesecake ice
Okay.
cream for sure. Yeah, and that's only because I like cheesecake.
Oh,
Definitely. hmm
so no for mint chocolate chip, huh?
that's a pass, hard pass. I don't feel like mints should be in any form of ice cream. It's kind of the equivalent of when people ask, "Should pineapples belong on pizza?" But I like pineapples on pizza though, so that's different. That's different though.
As long as one or the other, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so my co-host Z and I, we have a big debate. So the big debate was between mint chocolate chip and like if that is a good ice cream or not. Uh,
Uh,
Another one is between Birkenstocks and Crocs. What are your
oof, I
what
got
is
both. I got both. Comfort wise, definitely Birkenstocks, but if we're going like fashion wise, Crocs for sure. That's because I can put the little buttons or the
the
gibbets in
shimmer?
them. Yeah, that's the only reason why. Get a little customize them.
Okay, so you redeemed yourself with that answer.
Okay, good, good, good.
You redeemed yourself. Um, who are you currently listening to right now?
A lot of UK artists
Really?
lately. Uh, I got my playlist right here. I got Cat Burn, or Cat Burns, Dave, Georgia, and then there's this gentleman by the name of Banks. Hold on, let me make sure. Jacob Banks.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been listening to a lot of UK artists lately.
How did you get exposed to the UK artists?
So I grew up a military brat.
Okay.
I was actually born in Herlen, Netherlands,
Oh, wow.
right next to Germany. Yeah, my
Yeah.
father was stationed over there, and then we had moved to the states. I want to say I was like 7. So my first state was Oklahoma, and then after that was Alaska. So, and Alaska being like the West Coast, New York, like there's so much diversity up here, from Filipinos, Russians, Samoans. There's a large population of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans up here, so that kind of opened up the realm for me, and in terms of like my dance style, my music, how I would carry myself. Um, so yeah, I listen to a lot of UK artists, a lot of reggaeton, a lot of Polynesian artists out in like Seattle and Hawaii. So stuff that normal people would normally listen to.
No, you're definitely well rounded, and it's a change because not a lot of people, branch out to a lot of the places that you've mentioned. So it's nice. It's nice to hear like a more, not so much cultured, but more branched out artist.
Oh yeah, and I always try to give credit where it's due. Like if I find like a really good local artist, it doesn't matter if they only got like 300 views or
Hmm.
plays. Like I'll share it on my page just out of genuine love. Like, yo, I like what you do. Let me share it. And I feel like a lot of people should be like that. Like you shouldn't just go primarily off of popularity. Like, and I see people do that time and time again. Like, there's a brand up here called the 49th Supply Company, owned by John and Boss, and I've been rocking with them for years. I actually have the brand tattooed on my ankle, um, and they've gained traction to where they got contracts and their clothing being sold in Zoomies and Buckle now.
Oh
Um,
wow.
but their main store is up here in Anchorage, Alaska. And to see it grow from John selling it out like a small warehouse to having an actual flagship store is he started his brand around the same time I was starting in the industry. Like neither one of us knew what we were really getting into, but we knew that eventually the end goal and to see each other like succeeding, it's a
Hmm.
blessing. All about just showing love to local artists and local business owners because it's easy to like go buy a Louis Vuitton jacket or Gucci flip flops or whatever. Like everyone knows who they are, but to bring up that next level of business owners, that to me is important.
Oh, definitely. And mentioning that so you've lived in Europe, you're
Mhm.
European. What is a major cultural difference that you've noticed living in the States and living in Europe?
The style, fashion is completely different. Um, the mentality is different as well. Like people overseas, it like back in Europe versus like Americans, like in terms of like the work ethic, Europeans got it down pat. Like over here, it's more like a self entitlement thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the my peers want instant gratification, something for nothing, and or they expect like I know one of the major issues that I'm running to up here in Alaska with my peers or the generation below is um, they're dead stuck on like, okay, I'm gonna be an artist or I'm gonna be in this creative industry, but I expect to blow up here. And I always let them know like, yeah, the chances of you blowing up here are possible, but it's very unlikely. So in order for you to succeed or get like some sort of traction or a start, you gotta like take that leap of faith. Go do like a year in LA or do a year in New York, wherever like a major city, because up here we don't have red carpet events happening every day or some celebrity that's gonna just drive. Like I remember in Atlanta, this is what taught me in Atlanta to always be prepared, like dressed wise. Is because I was getting out of the gas station, or I just finished getting out of my car to put gas in, and I'm just in some raggedy sweats. Like I just left the gym, and the car next to me over pulls up, and it's a Rolls Royce. And I'm not thinking anything of it because like I've seen so many since being living in Atlanta. And Usher gets out the car, and I'm just like, literally definition of you got to stay ready so you never have to get ready because like me, I'm all about first impressions,
Mm-hmm.
at least when I approach someone of their caliber versus like me, like if someone approaches me like in their sweats, I don't care, like yeah, we can talk business, but I just naturally assume that they're gonna have that mentality, so I'm like, oh man, I can't walk up and be like, hey man, no, I'm a dancer. So yeah, that's a big thing. I always try to tell people like, hey, just even if you go to Seattle for 6 months or San Diego, go to a major city, see what you're made of, grit your teeth and get through it, and networking, as you and I both know, is very vital. Whether you're in real estate, the music industry, choreography. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it's not what you know, what you're capable of, but who you know.
Mhm.
And I learned that very, very quickly, especially with LA, especially with Los Angeles. My past trip in LA, it's been a minute since I've been out there, but I networked in Atlanta with Debrat from So Def, and then I ended up getting invited to the So Def 25th anniversary out in Los Angeles. This was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, and she remembered me from Atlanta and introduces me to Big Boy from Big Boy Radio, and super super cool guy. And then as soon as he found out I was from Alaska, spent like 20 minutes talking about Alaska. There's black people in Alaska. I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, well, what you doing out here? And so just that question alone led to, well, I'm out here because I'm a choreographer and I do all
Mhm.
this other stuff. And he goes, wow, okay, they got people like that from Alaska. What you doing in the morning? I was like, not much. And then he invites me down to his radio station. And so I get to the radio station, which is like in Burbank, California. And then come to find out, he's interviewing Wiz Khalifa. Instant another networking connection because I wasn't expecting it. And so he's interviewing Wiz, and then I'm outside waiting on them. And there's another gentleman, and I'm talking about sports with like one of the crew members, and then I realized the crew member I'm having this bout back and forth with about basketball is Chevy Woods, Wiz Khalifa's best friend, who's also a music artist. And then like we ended up following each other on social media, instant connection, and then like after the interview, Big Boy comes up and is like, "Hey, I got some free tickets to the Chris Brown and LMA concert that's happening." So it was just one thing after another, and I tell that story to anyone who's getting in the industry because it's literally a testimony of networking. Like
Mhm.
when I first met Debrat, all we did was talk, didn't ask for any business. Like we just linked and connected. She thought I was cool. And so that paid its way forward for Los Angeles because I didn't ask her to introduce me to Big Boy, but she did it out of the kindness of heart based off the relationship already established. And so just continue to open up more and more doors. So I try to urge anyone just stay true to who you are. If you don't come off with a hidden agenda and you're genuine, 9 times out of 10, it'll pay its way off.
Wow. You have some interesting stories for
Yeah,
sure.
like literally every picture, every red carpet that I've ever been on, when I post, there's always some crazy story behind it, and I always try to tell people. Um, like one of my favorite ones that I tell people is the picture with Cleo Thomas from Holes. He's actually from Anchorage, Alaska, and a lot of people don't know that. He was born up here. We've had multiple conversations. I've helped him out. He's helped me out. And one thing I like about him is he's a massive nerd, just like me. Only he takes it like a little extreme. Like he's got a game room and everything. I'm not there yet.
Not there.
But we went to the Dragon Ball Super premiere. We were both out invited out there. It was at the Chinese TLC theater out in LA. I ended up meeting Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson, and like we argued about who's better, Goku, Vegeta. So literally like opening one door after the other, and this is why it pays off to just be who you are. At the end of the day, people will respect you more and willing to help you out or do favors or want to just do business with you out of the kindness of their heart. So yeah.
Mhm. That's so cool. Wow. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming on to our show. It was a pleasure to have you as a guest.
Of course.
And to finally talk to another dancer. I didn't know half
Oh yeah.
so it was nice.
Hip hop, breakdancing, jazz, and contemporary. Those were my main ones.
Well, okay, nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. I always danced I was told I danced hip hop as a ballerina. So it wasn't my strong
Okay.
suit, but I do have um like a lot of respect for hip hop dancers for sure.
Gotcha. I feel like dancers as a whole, we're like one giant family. So we got respect for each other across the board.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So thank you for being a guest on our show.
Of
And for
course.
those that don't know you, where can they find you? How can they follow you?
All my social media is I am Jai Parham. So IAMJAIPARHAM. So that's the easiest way to find me.
Awesome. And then you can follow the Takeover Lounge at Lounge Takeover. We have a Patreon if you want to become a Patreon member. And we will see you soon. Jai, before we log off, stay on
Mhm. I
afterwards.
got you.
Okay.
No worries.